Picture this. You're lying in bed at 2 a.m., scrolling through social media, watching people live the life you think you want. You close your phone and stare at the ceiling, asking yourself the same question that's haunted humanity for millennia. Am I living up to my potential? But here's what might blow your mind. The greatest philosophers in history weren't just asking this question, they were answering it. And their insights might completely change how you think about the invisible barriers holding you back. I'm talking about the prison of your own mind. Today, we're diving deep into what philosophy, from ancient Greece to modern existentialism, can teach us about unlocking human potential. And by the end of this video, you'll have a completely new framework for thinking about your own limitations. Let's start in ancient Athens. 399 BCE, Socrates is about to drink hemlock, sentenced to death for corrupting the youth with his radical ideas. But before he goes, he leaves us with perhaps the most important insight about human potential ever recorded. Know thyself. Not believe in yourself, or follow your dreams. Know thyself. Because here's what Socrates understood that we often miss. You can't unlock potential you don't even know exists. Think about it. How many of your current limitations are actually just assumptions you've never questioned? How many times have you said, I'm not a math person, or I'm not creative, without ever truly testing those beliefs? Now, Socrates' student Aristotle took this even further. He introduced the concept of eudaimonia, often translated as happiness, but it's really about human flourishing. Aristotle believed every person has a unique essence, a specific way they're meant to contribute to the world. But here's the kicker, and this is where it gets relevant to your 2 a.m. existential crisis. Aristotle argued that most people never discover this essence because they're too busy living according to other people's expectations. So let me ask you this. Are you living according to your nature, or according to what your parents, society, or social media tells you that you should be? But while the Greeks were wrestling with these questions, the East was exploring a very different angle. Buddhism, for example, teaches that much of our suffering, and by extension, our feeling of being limited, comes from attachment. It's not just attachment to possessions, but to identities, expectations, and stories we tell ourselves. The Buddha's insight was radical. If you can let go of these attachments, you can unlock a kind of freedom that makes your potential limitless. Taoism takes it a step further with the concept of wu wei, effortless action. The idea isn't to grind your way to potential, but to align yourself so naturally with the flow of life that your actions become powerful without force. In other words, the East reminds us that sometimes unlocking potential isn't about adding more. It's about stripping away what's holding you back. Fast forward to the 1800s. Enter Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher who basically looked at human potential and said, "We're thinking way too small." Now, everyone knows that quote, but they miss Nietzsche's deeper point. He introduced the idea of the Bermensch, not a superhuman, but a person who transcends their own limitations by creating their own values instead of accepting society's. Think about every major innovator you admire. Steve Jobs didn't follow the computer industry's rules. He rewrote them. Oprah didn't accept the media landscape as it was. She transformed it. It became what Nietzsche called philosophers with hammers, breaking down the walls of conventional thinking. But it was the existentialists who really blew this wide open. Jean-Paul Sartre hit us with one of the most liberating and terrifying ideas in philosophy. Existence precedes essence. In other words, you weren't born with a predetermined purpose. You exist first. Then you create your essence through your choices. Every single day. And no one understood this better than Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. In the most horrific circumstances imaginable, he discovered that even when everything is taken from us, one freedom remains: the freedom to choose our attitude. Frankl argued that human beings can endure almost anything if they have a sense of meaning. He called this logotherapy. The idea that our drive for meaning is the most fundamental human motivation. What does that mean for your potential? It means that the power to transcend your limitations often comes from anchoring yourself to a purpose bigger than your pain. This means that the voice in your head saying, "I'm just not the type of person who is lying to you." You're not a fixed type of person. You're a person who makes choices, and those choices shape who you become. Here's what this means practically. That fear you feel when considering a big change, it's not your limitation talking. That's your potential knocking on the door. Now, all this talk about transcending limits sounds inspiring, but how do you actually do it? This is where the Stoics come in. Marcus Aurelius, literally the most powerful man in the world as a Roman emperor, wrote in his journal every night. And his core insight was revolutionary. You don't unlock potential by trying to control everything. You unlock it by mastering what you can control and releasing what you can't. The Stoics had a simple exercise. They'd divide everything in their lives into two categories: up to me and not up to me. Not up to me. Other people's opinions, economic crashes, getting sick, traffic jams. Up to me. My response to setbacks, how I spend my time, what I choose to focus on, the effort I put in. Here's a challenge for you, and I want you to actually do this. Right now, grab a piece of paper or open your notes app. Write down 3 things that are draining your mental energy right now. I'll wait. Now, next to each one, write up to me, or not up to me. I guarantee that most of your stress is coming from things in the not up to me category. But here's where it gets powerful. Take everything in the up to me category and ask yourself, what would happen if I put all the energy I'm wasting on the other stuff into mastering this? That's where your potential lives. Not in some mystical future version of yourself, but in the gap between what you're currently doing and what you're capable of doing with what's already under your control. So let's circle back to that 2 a.m. question. Am I living up to my potential? Here's what thousands of years of philosophy teaches us. Your potential isn't some fixed thing you're failing to reach. It's not a destination. It's a practice. Socrates showed us that potential starts with honest self-examination. Aristotle taught us that it requires living according to our authentic nature, not other people's expectations. Nietzsche proved that we can transcend our current limitations by creating our own values. Sartre reminded us that we're free to choose who we become, and the Stoics gave us the practical tools to focus our energy where it actually matters. The prison of your own mind isn't locked from the outside. The key has been in your hand this whole time. It's made of self-knowledge, authentic choice, courage to transcend conventional limits, acceptance of your radical freedom, and focus on what you can control. So here's my challenge to you. Stop asking, am I living up to my potential? Start asking, what am I choosing to become today? Because philosophy isn't just about understanding the world, it's about changing it, starting with yourself. Your potential isn't waiting for you to find it, it's waiting for you to create it. So what will you choose to become? If you want to watch more videos like this, check out our page and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support us in making more content.